G'day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Conscious Truth Network. My name is James Bartolo, and today I'm here with Mike Palmer. So Mike runs the company Know Your Rights, and the Know Your Rights group is a group that's dedicated to teaching people how to learn what your rights are, what your rights, responsibilities are, and what you can do when it comes to the field of legal and law and how to understand all that madness, which is the current system. So Mike, first of all, I just want to get started and say you're not giving any legal advice to anyone, because only a lawyer can give legal advice. This is just all information from your personal opinion regarding the law and legislation. So the first question, what is your background? How did you get started doing this? I believe it was since 2014. Just tell us a bit more about yourself and your company and what you do.
Well, I mean, I guess it almost goes back a few steps further than that. What a lot of people don't realise, I actually worked for Victoria Police for about 13 years. I was a contractor for them, so I heard all the weird and wonderful stories. And then the contract went to tender, and they ended up doing a bit of a under-the-table backdoor deal with a bankrupt Queensland company, just so that they could tie up the whole process in one place. And that sort of got me thinking right back then. Wow, things just don't seem to add up. That doesn't seem quite right. And so we started looking into a few things at that point, and didn't sort of really think too much about it. And back in my previous life, I had a few nice cars and things like that, and started getting pulled over all the time, constantly for 5-6 Ks over the limit, and getting these fines. And it just got to the point where it's ridiculous. And so I started doing a bit more research, and I came across the Aussie speeding fines guys, and they shared a bunch of their information with me. And I said, listen, this is brilliant stuff. We need to sort of get this out to the masses. So I sort of helped them create the Aussie speeding fines concept and their book and their website, and I did a lot of promotion for them back in the day. And then they introduced me to other groups like CLRG and Bank Secrets Revealed, Operate in the Private, all these guys. And I said, this is great that there's all these little groups out there, but they're all only talking to small segments of people. We really need to get this information out to the masses. And so I got together with Darryl O'Brien from CLRG, and we created the Know Your Rights group as basically an umbrella group, if you like, to bring all these other small groups together as one point of contact, so we can all sort of market to each other's database and promote each other and all that sort of stuff, and just really maximize our reach. Because we're still here today, even as you said, we started the Know Your Rights group 6 years ago, and we still get people going, oh my God, I never knew you guys existed, and this is so amazing. And
welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Conscious Truth Network. I'm your host, James Bartolo. This channel is dedicated to exposing the evil and corruption in this country, Australia, and across the entire world. The only way we can win this war, and mark my words, we are at war, is if you speak up, my friend. If you like, share, comment on this post, and if you empower yourself to do the very same, to speak up and to get this message out to those people who are in the middle, who seek the voice of reason. It's time you become that voice of reason. Continue watching and I'll show you how.
It's like, well, we've been trying to get it out there, but people just still aren't quite getting the message.
So what's CLRG?
CLRG is the Common Law Resource Group, and then when Darryl left, it became the Common Law Resource Association. I think it is. So again, just another group. They have meetings around Victoria, every whatever it is, a couple of times a month or something like that. So, but just all different little groups, and they've all got their expertise in different areas, whether it's constitutional law or banking stuff or speeding fines. And we just thought, what a great idea to bring all of those different ideas and concepts together into one place.
So where would you say your area of expertise or your specialty is?
Look, I've had a lot to do with the Aussie speeding fines guys, and dealing with a lot of that information. I also spent 4.5 years in the courts fighting the banks, so I've got quite a bit of experience on that side of things. And I know the lovely fraud that they're involved in. And and then obviously over the years, I just sort of picked up other bits and pieces from the other groups. But they're the two areas that I spend the most time and energy, I guess.
Yeah, so you've definitely been in the courtroom before.
Oh yeah, I've been in court. Well, that's the thing. As I was telling people, I've actually been in court more times than most actual lawyers out there. As I said, I spent 4.5 years in the courts, and I was in and out of the courts probably, I'd say, on average once a month.
Okay.
4.5 years. So yeah, and that was just with that plus speeding fines and parking fines and all the rest of it.
So if you were to give a number, just out of curiosity, how many times do you think you've been in a courtroom for a court proceeding?
Oh, mate, I don't know. Probably, give or take 100 times, I guess now. It's
Wow.
a lot.
Yeah, okay, so you've definitely got some experience.
Yeah.
Some experience to know what you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, cool. Well, so what are some of the things that you've discovered through your journey of learning about all this deception that is illegal, what's unlawful, and, well, after that, we'll move into some testimonies as well of what you've helped your clients achieve. But because the majority of people still think, oh, you have to pay your parking fine, you have to pay your speeding fine, you have to pay your ATO tax and all this kind of stuff because we've been tricked into believing we do. But what have you discovered?
Oh, well, how long have you got? I mean,
yeah, let's go.
As I said, it's been a long journey. I mean, from the speeding fines point of view, the parking fines point of view, Section 8, subsection 12 of the Imperial Acts Application Act, all fines and forfeitures before conviction are illegal and void. I mean, this is inherited imperial law. So it's pretty straightforward what it says there. So as I say to people, the minute the cop pulls you over on the side of the road and hands you a ticket, has it been to court? Well, no, it's illegal and void. They try and impound your car, which would of course be a forfeiture. Has it been to court at that point? No, it hasn't. So it's illegal and void. You've got things like no speed detection device currently in use in Australia has been certified to comply with Section 10 of the National Measurement Act. Now, this has been confirmed by the chief metrologist at the National Measurement Institute. So all of these so-called scientific, accurate devices, your laser guns, your radar guns, all those things, none of them comply with Section 10, and they can't because Section 10 of the National Measurement Act, for those who don't know, refers to traceability, and they need to be traceable back to an originating set of specifications, and those simply don't exist. So they don't comply, they can't comply. Things like that. I mean, you've got Section 92 of the Commonwealth Constitution. Travel among the states shall be absolutely free. All roads are created in fee simple. Therefore, we can't be charged to use them because we, the people, own them. So, I mean, there's heaps of things there. The bank fraud, the stuff that the banks are doing every single time they engage in a home loan. And we went right through the process of looking at the actual RBA statistics that are published on their website. And you can pick any arbitrary point in time, and you can look at the actual figures for that particular month, and you'll see that the RBA is reporting that there exists more in credit and more in loans and advances than actually exists in their definition of broad money, which is all forms of money. So how can you loan or advance or extend credit of more than actually exists in broad money? It's a complete fraud. It's a complete scam. But of course, no one ever bothers to dig that deeply and uncover those things. You've got the fact that basically, every law since every purported law since 1973 within the Commonwealth of Australia is illegal and void because it's been made outside of the authority since we have been unlawfully signed up to this Unidroit treaty. And again, most people have no idea what Unidroit even is.
Actually, can you spend a bit more time explaining that? Because that's a very powerful thing which has happened to us, right, since 1973.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
so can you give us a brief overview of what actually happened?
Yeah, so Unidroit is the unification of private law, and so essentially we've all been forced to operate under private law since 1973. we've been forced to operate under what's known in legal terms as the colour of law. So it's the appearance of law without actually being law. So I guess a simple explanation is a lot of people have heard of this so-called purported Queen of Australia and how we've been operating under this Queen of Australia supposedly since 1986, since the Australia Acts. But of course, you can't be the Queen of Australia and the Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, as is defined in the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1900 UK. You can't be the Queen of two realms. So it's one or the other. And again, we keep saying, you know, we've done, you know, FOI requests and all the rest of it. You know, where is the head of power to create this entity known as the Queen of Australia? Can you, you know, show us who she is? Can you put her on TV and get her to speak to us? Of course, they can't, because it's a corporate role. Again, people can go and look this up themselves. It's on the US Securities and Exchange Commission, which is the equivalent to ASIC. So we have ASIC here in Australia. In the US, they have the US Securities Exchange Commission. And you can type in Commonwealth of Australia and see that it is a corporation registered in the US. So obviously the Commonwealth of Australia, as defined under the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1900 UK, is the actual Commonwealth being the makeup of the states of, you know, New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, etc., etc. And yeah, that is yeah. Oh, there you go. You've got the website there. Yeah. So that's obviously, you know, separate and distinct from the corporation that you're obviously going to show people as it comes up on the screen there.
This is the right side, is it, Mike?
Yeah, the SEC, yeah, US Securities Exchange Commission, yep. So yeah, type in Commonwealth of Australia, and yeah, should be the top link there, I think, the CIK link. Is that the right one?
Let's have a look, because I have seen it. I have seen it before myself. Sometimes they've got so many different websites.
Yeah.
Maybe not that one. That's coming up weird.
Yeah, there is a link that's sort of floating around on a few sites, and it brings up the page. But yeah, I mean, look, it's not simple to find. You do have to do a little bit of digging, but you can definitely find it there. Yeah, try that corporate third one down. Try that one.
Let's have a look.
There you go, and there's, yeah, is that the?
Yeah, and the fake emblem too.
And then they should, I believe that page also has a link to it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, if people want to look more into it, they can look up.
There's numerous links and everything available for it. So. But you know, again, it doesn't. You can't really do anything with that, but it's handy for people to understand that, yes, they can go and search this up, and clearly the corporation Commonwealth of Australia is not the same as the Commonwealth of Australia as defined under the Constitution. It's the same thing as, and I guess we may be getting a little bit off topic, but we'll come back. The difference between the birth certificate and the live birth record. Okay, so the live birth record is the record in the hospital that you were born as a living, breathing, you know, baby. Okay, and then what the state does is the state gets you to apply for a birth certificate. So the state then takes that live birth record and converts it into a birth certificate, which is actually a bond. Okay, and that bond, like all other bonds in the world, gets traded on the stock market. Okay, and that sort of goes off into a whole other tangent. And again, people get confused and think, oh, well, that's great. If I get my live birth record, I can get all that money back. And all that. It's not your money. Okay, and this is where people get confused. Okay, this is a fraud that was perpetuated by the state. So why would you want to become involved in a fraud? Okay, it's not there. It's their fraud. It's their, you know, it's their crime. Let them ultimately pay for it. But having said that, there are things like set-off strategies and things like that you can do, that if they issue a debt to the person, which relates to the birth certificate, then that can be offset with the funds in that birth certificate. And as I said, that sort of gets off a little bit, on a tangent, and then, that's obviously sort of pretty advanced sort of stuff. But again, it's just so that people can start thinking about this stuff and go, oh, I always wondered why there was two different documents. Why is there a live birth record? Why is there a birth certificate? Why do they always write to me in the all caps name? That's not how I write my name. Oh, okay, now I understand that. That makes sense. And everything that's done is done by trickery and deception. They keep asking you to apply for these things. They make your parents apply for a birth certificate in your name. They tell you ever since you're about 12 years old, how exciting it's going to be when you can finally apply for your driver's license. Okay, and then they trick you into applying for that driver's license. Okay, well, you have a God-given right to travel freely about the planet. That was given to you by your creator. So why do you need to get a license to do something that you're already free to do? Okay, so there's all these things. But again, I want to warn anyone who's listening or watching this. Like with anything in life, whenever you make certain choices, there are ramifications to those choices. So, can you drive around without a license? Can you drive around without registration? Yes, you absolutely can. No one's holding a gun against your head saying, stop. But you will get pulled over, you will get challenged, you will get questions. So you've got to, it's like with everything, you've got to learn to pick your battles, pick your fights. So yeah, I mean, as I said, I could go on all day, but I mean, these are just some of the things that that come to mind that I've sort of uncovered and discovered, and these are the sort of things that I tend to to talk to people about most often. I mean, the other one, of course, is tax. Personal tax was brought in as a voluntary tax to fund the World War, and it was supposed to stop once the war was over. But of course, the greedy governments were all hooked on all the money that they were making, and they just they kept it in. But again, you look back through the history of what's now the Australian Taxation Office. It used to be the Federal Taxation Office, and it had different entities all along, but there's no gazetting for this Australian Taxation Office. The High Court ruling in Mollica v Chapman, the representative for the ATO clearly says, no, the ATO is not a legal entity. Okay. Now, again, you can't do anything with that, but it's interesting for people to know, like, wow, because of course everyone gets these, fancy letters with, ATO, Australian government, ATO on the letterhead. Now, that in and of itself is a deception. That's a fraud. Because if you or I tried to write letters and demand money from people based on a non-legal entity, we'd be thrown in the slammer in a heartbeat. Yet they can seem to get away with it because people don't realise. There are points that you can challenge them on, but that in and of itself isn't enough. You need to understand that it's never the ATO that will take you to court, for example. It's the Commissioner or Deputy Commissioner of Taxation. Now, again, we've done freedom of information requests where we've asked the Attorney General's office, please provide the documents that establish the head of power for the creation of the Commissioner or Deputy Commissioner of Taxation. And of course, they responded, well, no such documents exist. Then you start digging around to that level, and it's like, wow, okay, well, now we're starting to get somewhere. So, there's, as I said, I could talk all day. I mean, we do 2.5 day events where we cover all this, all this sort of information. So, but I mean, that should hopefully be enough for, whoever's watching, listening, to at least start thinking, because this is really what it's all about. Is, we're not here to provide, answers for anybody. We are, at the Know Your Rights group, we're all about the principle of, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but teach him how to fish and you feed him for life. So we'll just like to sort of drop these little nuggets, drop these little hints. Obviously we've got our book and everything where we show people where to look for these court cases, where to look at these sections and subsections of legislation. But we urge them to go and do that for themselves. So they do their own research, they verify, confirm, validate it for themselves. Then it becomes their information. And that, of course, is where it starts to become really, really powerful. And and that's really what we're all about, getting people, to start thinking outside the box, thinking outside of the media conditioning, the brainwashing that we all receive through our education system. Mm-hmm. And again, it's like anything. Once you start looking into things, you'll find amazing things. I mean, every day I see something stupid on Facebook about, how some shopper has revealed some amazing Woolworths secret or something, and everybody views that. Well, imagine you started looking into the law in the same way as you started looking for secrets in Woolworths. We'd all be a hell of a lot better off, and that's what we urge people to do.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think it's really good for people to hear the testimonies of how you've helped some of your clients out, so they can hear real life cases. People have challenged the system, and then they've actually won.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, we've got a Facebook group. We've got about 16,500 people on our Facebook group, I think. And we urge anyone, just, jump onto that Facebook group, join up and, just read through the stories from people, post a question and ask, and you'll get people responding all the time. Aussie speeding fines, their website's got something like 6 pages worth of testimonials over 10 or 12 years, from parking fines to no seatbelt fines, obviously, multitudes of speeding fines. People have even used that information for, failing to wear a bicycle helmet, or, getting a fine for not having registered dogs. There's just, testimony after testimony after testimony. Obviously on our Know Your Rights group, we've got people to actually send in some videos. And so, they're just sitting in front of a camera like we are now, and they're recording their story, telling people their story. So, anyone who thinks we're making it up or anything like that, they can see real people there, with their stories. The Bank Secrets Revealed stuff, they're probably some of the most powerful and significant stories. I had one that just came through, which I just read out on our radio show this week. It was a lady, I think she was in her 50s. She'd been recently diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. She'd racked up huge medical bills. She'd gone to the banks and requested assistance from them under the various hardship provisions. And they've gone, no, you've still got to pay. And out of desperation and frustration, she's come to us, and we've put her onto the Bank Secrets book. She's grabbed that book. She's written, I think, 2 letters. And bang, they've written off a $26,500 credit card. Another one that came through just last week. This is stuff that I'm just thinking of off the top of my head. There's another guy who he wrote 2 emails, maybe 3 emails, in relation to the lender's mortgage insurance. So again, I don't know if any of your listeners, viewers have got the lender's mortgage insurance. So basically, most banks, if you lend over, it's usually about 90%, they'll force you to take out lender's mortgage insurance. And what that is it's insurance that you pay for that doesn't actually protect you, it protects the banks. So in case you can't pay your loan and they fire sale your house, they don't sell it for enough to cover the loan, they then make a claim on this lender's mortgage insurance. But here's the thing. They make you pay for a policy that doesn't protect you, it protects them, and they never give you a PDS, a product disclosure statement. Now, here's the problem. We've all watched those ads with, Coles Little Red Car Insurance and Dare CV Home and Contents Insurance and whatever else it is. And they always tell you, at the end of the ad, or a TV ad, radio, this is, general advice only. Please download the product disclosure statement from our website before deciding to act on this information. And they have to give you, that product disclosure statement to give you the full terms and conditions of the insurance. And of course, when it comes to lender's mortgage insurance, they never do, because all they actually do is each of the major banks has their own insurance company. So they're paying themselves, which is insurance fraud. Okay, but again, people don't understand this. And when you get these books and you start to read about this stuff, it's like, oh my God, I didn't even know. So this guy, wrote a couple of letters, a couple of emails. I think he didn't even write letters. And they came back and said, oh, look, you're going to have to take this, through all the channels and everything. But if you want to just deal with this now, we'll give you a 50% refund on your insurance. This is, thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars that we're talking about. It's not cheap stuff. And he's just got a, 50% refund like that. I had another guy that I remember quite well, because I worked with him myself. And he had, I think it was about $40,000 in equipment loans that he was unable to pay. And they'd taken him to court, and we just wrote in one of the advance letters, talking about securitization audits and special purpose vehicles and, a few of the higher, more advanced arguments. And we sent that off to the solicitors. I think it was within 24, 48 hours, they wrote back with a notice of discontinuance. So they stopped the case and they pulled out of the court case. So, I mean, it's really powerful stuff. Once you really start to get your head around, this information. Again, not that I'm, condoning it in any way, but, on smaller scales, obviously we've seen the various videos of, where people are walking around without their masks, people are able to go through COVID checkpoints, people are able to cross, state borders, and things like this once they understand, what the law actually says. And this is a big thing that we do, is we teach people how to actually read the law. Because, most people, this is not something that's taught at school. And they're just, oh, well, that's what the law says and that's it. But hang on a minute. Is that what it actually says? Remember, all of this is done through bluff. All of this is done through deception. And they use these words and say, oh, well, the driver of a motor vehicle must da-da-da-da-da. But hang on. Most people just think, oh, well, yeah, I'm a driver of a motor vehicle, that must apply to me. No. A driver, when you look up the actual legal definition of driver, a driver is someone who is remunerated, that means paid, okay, to operate a motor vehicle. So a courier driver, a taxi driver, an Uber driver, okay.
Where would you find that information, Mike?
Sorry?
Where is that? Is that in Black's Law Dictionary?
Yeah, the Black's Law Dictionaries is a perfect way to look up these, actual definitions. Okay, and then you go to motor vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay? And, people need to understand the distinction, okay, between an actual motor vehicle and an automobile. Okay, so a motor vehicle is something that's used for commercial purposes. So again, if anyone's done any study on the old laws, things like the Motor Car Act, if you've looked into that, okay, you used to have commercial registration and private registration. Now, private registration was only ever a once-off fee for life. Okay, you used to pay to register your car once, and that was it, because it was for private use. Okay, it was only an annual fee for commercial. Now, anyone who looks at their registration certificate now will see that we've all been tricked and deceived into registering our vehicles commercially. But again, most people don't realise, oh, there you go. Yeah, one employed in the conduct. There you go. Perfect. Yep, there it is right there.
So employed. So you'd have to be employed to be a driver, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just a traveller. Okay, and again, you're not in a motor vehicle. You're in an automobile, or what I always use is a private conveyance. Okay, you're just in your private conveyance. Okay, and that can mean anything. Okay, it's a private conveyance. But the problem with you start using vehicles, and that's a commercial term. Okay, see, carriage or other artificial contrivance. Okay?
What does that mean?
It's artificial. That's it. It's artificial. It's not real. It's fake.
Oh.
So, yeah, and this is where people get confused. Okay. Again, you can just type into Google, driving is a right, not a privilege. And there's court cases that come up. There's numerous court cases in the US and all the rest that, again, people just aren't, aware of. Driving is a right, not a privilege.
This one. There you go. There's you.
Well, that's me, yeah.
Hey, Mike.
You can scroll through and you can see there's different cases, and look, we've got all these links to various cases in our book, and obviously the Aussie speeding fines have got tons of information about that sort of stuff. And these are the things that people just need to start looking into and talking about and thinking about. And it's all done through deception. So they trick you and deceive you into applying for a driver's license, and they deceive you and trick you into registering your motor vehicle. Okay, and and that stuff is not the way it is. And this is why we say to people, it just the simple distinction between words can be a huge difference. The difference between a person and a man or woman. Now, of course, everyone thinks, oh, well, yeah, I'm a person, but no, you're not, because if you look up the definition, okay, person includes a corporation. Well, you can't possibly be a corporation, can you? Okay, but also it's what's excluded that is just as often as important, if not more so, than what's included. Okay, because there's a legal maxim that states that which is not included, specifically included, is automatically excluded. Okay, so when it says a person is a corporation, okay, and it talks about body corporate and things like that, but it doesn't actually spell out that a person includes a man or woman. Therefore, it doesn't. I challenge any of your viewers out there to go and find me any piece of legislation that refers specifically to a man or woman. Okay? I challenge all your viewers out there to go and find me any piece of legislation that refers to a subject of the Queen. Because again, if we go back to the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1900 UK, okay, it talks about us being subjects of the Queen, okay, and that is our, that is the position that we can stand in. Again, there was another powerful case in the matter of Reed Patterson, and the High Court said that you can either be a citizen of Australia or a subject of the Queen. As a subject of the Queen, you have rights under the Crown, under the Constitution. As an Australian citizen, you basically have none, because it's all under this fictitious Queen of Australia. It's all under this private Unidroit Treaty. Okay, it's all under the colour of law. Okay, and these are all the things that people need to start getting their head around.
What about this, Mike? So with what is a person, and it does say here a man, but how have they tricked us here? What's going on?
Okay, so well that's going to depend on which version of the Black's Law Dictionary it is. Okay, and there's a legal maxim that says first in time, best in law. All right, but again, back in the old days when a lot of these were written, okay, it was included. But if you look in the current definitions, if you go to, I think it's in, off the top of my head, in the GST legislation here in Australia, it talks about a person, including a body corporate, corporation, things like that. There's no reference anywhere there to man. Okay, so again, you need to have a look at the actual legislation that they're referring to here in Australia, the legislation that they're using against you in any court case or whatever it may be, and say, okay, but where does that legislation specifically refer to a man or woman, okay, or a subject of the Crown?
Yeah, because this is only referencing a man, no mention of a woman, and it says a man considered according to the rank he holds in society. Well, who defines that?
Okay, so again, it's an office. Okay, the rank he holds in society is an office. So again, I'll give you an example. I've been obviously, as I said, to court many times, and in relation to a lot of traffic matters, and I'll put the police officer on the pardon me, on the stand, and they'll say, oh, can you state your name and well, they don't do address, obviously, name and occupation. It says, oh yes, my name's Senior Constable John Smith, and the magistrate goes, no, I'm pretty sure your parents didn't name you Senior Constable. Try again, what is your name? Oh, sorry, yes, Your Honour, yeah, my name is John Smith, and I am a Senior Constable of Police. Okay, so he's John Smith, but he holds the rank or title or office of Senior Constable of Police. Now, getting back to what I was saying before about the ATO, this is where this stuff comes into play, because the taxation legislation says that a commissioner or deputy commissioner of taxation may sue in his official name, but their name is not Commissioner of Taxation or Deputy Commissioner of Taxation. That's their office. That's their title. Their name is, Robert Rabanello, Melinda Smith, Chris Jordan. These are the names of the commissioners and deputy commissioners. Okay, so this is where it seems like tiny little stuff, but this is, the devil is in the detail, and this is the difference between people who truly understand their rights from those who just have a little bit of knowledge and can sometimes end up getting themselves in more trouble than not.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. That I like that saying. The devil is in the details.
Oh,
It's
devil
so
is
true.
always in the. When it comes to this stuff, you need to. And again, when we do our live events, as I said, these go over 2.5 days. And when we teach people how to construct letters and how to draft letters properly, especially when we're talking about letters on how to administrate the person, because once you understand the distinction between the man and woman and the person, you can step into the role as either the beneficiary or as the administrator, and you never want to be the trustee though, and you administer that person trust. And so we explain, and we break letters down, paragraph by paragraph, sentence by sentence, even word by word, because sometimes just the distinction between one word or the other can make all the difference. I mean, again, perfect example right now that all your viewers are going to be able to relate to. We keep hearing of all these COVID deaths. Okay, so here's the question.
If you're enjoying this content and you're finding it valuable, please consider donating via the link in the description. Every bit really does count. Thank you.
Are these people dying of COVID-19 or are they dying with COVID-19? See? Tiny little word difference, but a huge difference. If they're dying of COVID-19, well, that means the COVID-19 is killing them. But if they're dying with COVID-19, it just means, okay, they've tested positive for something, but it may be completely unrelated to their death. It's like somebody saying, oh, a man died yesterday with one leg. Well, he didn't die because he only had one leg. He just happened to be a one-legged man who died. Okay? And how the media twists and deceives us all. Okay. Oh, there was, here in Melbourne, 700 new cases of COVID yesterday. No, there weren't. They simply detected 700 cases of COVID that were existing 2 days ago, which is when they did the test. Okay, they're not new. They were already there. They just detected them. It'd be like someone going out with a metal detector and going up to, Ballarat or Bendigo, I don't know where they find gold nowadays, and going, oh my God, there's all this new gold in the ground. Well, no, God didn't put the gold in overnight while you were sleeping. It was always there. You just detected it with your metal detector. Okay, so all these cases of COVID were already there. People have got it. Okay, it's, it is what it is. I'm not going to give any, personal beliefs on what I think it is or it isn't. It is what it is, but it hasn't just sprung up overnight. Okay, it was there. They just detected it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so this is where that distinction between the words that people use, and especially, I mean, the media are masters at this, at twisting things, around. I mean, as soon as somebody does something that's outside of the mainstream media narrative, they're immediately labeled a conspiracy theorist. I mean, these videos of people, going through the COVID checkpoints and crossing the borders. Oh, a conspiracy theorist did this. No, a man or a woman did this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why are they all of a sudden a conspiracy theorist?
Oh, yeah, and that
Because
was
they ask a
the
few questions
checkpoint.
about the law. I mean, that doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm definitely not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in baseless bullshit.
Yeah.
It's the mainstream media who are the conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about conspiracies? There's this horrendously deadly virus that's killing everybody, but paper masks are going to save us all. I mean, if that's not a conspiracy theory, I don't know what is.
Yeah, exactly.
And the fact, the evidence that establishes that it's a conspiracy theory is the fact that here in Victoria and Melbourne, we've all been wearing, or most people have been wearing these masks for a week now, and the numbers have skyrocketed, which means that masks are not stopping what they're saying they are. So therefore, it's a theory. Masks will stop this is a theory. They are not stopping it. Therefore, it's proof that it's just a theory. The fact that all the media and the government are involved together, that's what makes it a conspiracy. Therefore, it is the textbook dictionary definition of conspiracy theory.
Mm.
Yeah, but of course, they twist it all around at anyone who has half a brain and chooses to ask questions about the mainstream narrative. And this is the problem. The media have just been absolutely hammering these people like Bunnings Karen and Eve Black and people like this. And look, you know, as I said on my video that I did myself last night, you know, I don't believe these people did what they did in the best, most effective way possible. But hey, at least they're out there, you know, giving it a go. So you know that's something. But you know, by their own admission, they're newbies. You know, they were just trying it out, seeing how they went. Hang on, Dan Andrews is being paid an exorbitant amount of money to lead the state. Yet he's made monumental stuff-ups. Why isn't the media questioning him? Why isn't the media labelling him a conspiracy theorist for forcing us all to wear masks for a week for no gain or benefit whatsoever? See, this is the problem. This is how everything gets twisted around the wrong way. And this is why, you know, this is what we're asking our members to do and your listeners to do and viewers, is to start holding the media accountable, start holding Dan Andrews accountable, start holding, you know, other ministers, you know, chief medical officers, you know, Minister for Health, start holding these people to account by simply asking them questions. Why are we still in lockdown when the numbers show lockdown doesn't work? Why are we still being forced to wear masks when it's been shown that it doesn't work? Why aren't we investigating things like I've forgotten the name of the drug now, the hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Oh, yeah. You know, when they're, and again, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not here to tell you that it does work or it doesn't work. But what I'm saying is my research has shown that a lot of people are claiming that it does work. So it's certainly, if this virus is so deadly as everyone's claiming, surely you'd be at least investigating it. You'd be having a look, wouldn't you? I mean, you know, it just makes sense to me. It just seems logical. If this is, you know, because again, yeah, and again, this is what I talk to people about. You know, what is it that we want to stop right now? We want to stop people from dying. Okay, that should be our number one focus. Now, the reality is you can't stop death. Death's going to happen all day, every day, no matter what. That's called life. Okay, that happens, as sad as and unfortunate as it is. But look, by all means, if there's any unnecessary deaths or something, that's what we should be focused on. Not worrying about how many people have been detected with COVID today or yesterday. It's like speeding fines. Okay, you're issuing these fines and these penalties and these punishments to people who've done nothing wrong. Yes, okay, speed is a factor in some accidents. 5% is the actual facts, if anyone wants to look it up. Speed is a factor in just 5% of accidents. That's it. So, yes, under a very unique, specific set of circumstances, you exceeding the speed limit might be a factor in an accident, but it's far from the biggest one or anything like that. So why are we just blatantly across the board just handing out speeding fines like lollies? You know, it's got no correlation or little to no correlation to actual accidents. And again, accidents aren't good and they're painful and all the rest of it. But again, isn't what we're trying to do stop the deaths on our road? So they've put more cameras installed, more mobile cameras, more hours, more fines being issued, yet the road toll's going up across the board in most states. You know, definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different result. Okay, well, let's issue some more fines and let's put some more cameras in. But hang on, the road toll's going up as it is. Why would you do more of the same thing? It's like Dan Andrews. Oh, we're about to, you know, we've got to seriously put stage 4 lockdown on the agenda here because this is going to be the answer. But hang on, you put us into stage 3 or stage 3A or whatever it is, you know, the most severe lockdowns we've had in the entire state, and you're forcing everyone to wear masks, and the numbers are still skyrocketing. Clearly, that strategy's not working. Are you insane? Like,
yeah. Simple, so simple.
It is. Again, you know, this isn't medical advice. This isn't legal advice. This is just common bloody sense.
Yeah.
But as they say, ever notice that common sense ain't all that common?
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, they've robbed and stolen that from the people. It's time we give it back to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so what do you see as solutions? Like, obviously, our country is being led by a bunch of mad dogs who are just barking incoherently and fucking the country over. So what do you think is a solution? What can we do to start
Okay, well,
fixing this?
obviously it's not a simple, snap your fingers and quick fix. There's a number of different elements to it, I guess. And again, this is just my view, my personal opinion on it. But the first thing, and this is what I sort of talk to everybody about, the first absolute most vital point is awareness. Okay, and again, as a success coach, a life coach myself, this is what I tell people: you can't fix a problem that you don't know you have. So if you don't realize you've got a smoking problem or a drinking problem, or you're 10 kilos overweight, or you're got anger management issues, and if you don't realize you've got a problem, well, you're not going to take any steps to fix it. So the first thing you need to do is jump on the scales one day, and go, oh geez, 10 k's over, I can't do my jeans up, or someone points out, hey mate, you've got an anger management problem. I've known you for 5 years, and you explode at the smallest thing, or whatever. Okay, so you've got to be aware of the problem. So that's the first thing, is that awareness. People need to understand, some of the problems. They need to understand that they have been lied to and deceived on almost every level. Okay, whether it be fines, whether it be taxes, whether it be the bank fraud, whether it be local councils and rates, the mandatory vaccination laws, what they understand about the Constitution. Again, I'm not sure how old you are, but we did the tiniest little bit, in 1 year. Oh yes, we've got this Commonwealth Constitution. We certainly didn't go into it, and anyone I know, certainly in the last 20 years, has not been taught anything about the Commonwealth Constitution at all. Why is it? The Commonwealth Constitution is the highest law in this land. You think that would be absolutely vital, essential learning for every school kid, yet they don't do it. So the first point, as I said, is this awareness, to understand what's going on. Get your head around unidroit, get your head around private law, understand what the difference between colour of law and law is, understand the distinction between man or woman and person, understand the distinction between vehicle, automobile and private conveyance. All these kinds of things. So once you become aware, and it's like, wow. So first thing that happens is this, and that's why they refer to that as an awakening, an awareness. It's like, okay, great. I have a new level of knowledge and understanding. Okay. And look, and again, the example I give to people is, you might have a hit at tennis, and you just basically just hold the racket and hit the ball over the net. But then you might go to an actual tennis clinic or tennis coach, and and he or she might say, oh, but actually if you hold the grip just a little bit this way and hold it just a bit further up, and bring your arm back like this, and all of a sudden your game of tennis opens up to a whole new level, because you've just learnt those little distinctions that make a huge improvement on your game of tennis. Apply to golf or whatever it is. Okay, so that's the similar concept to what we're talking about here, is having that awareness, learning some of those key distinctions, so that you go, wow, now I see the way the world operates at a whole new level. Now I see how the police, how governments, how courts, all these things operate. I see that at a whole new level. Okay, and that's the first step. The next step, of course, is once you've had that realization, once you've had that awakening, is to then go and share that with other people. Now, again, I want to make it clear, this doesn't mean you burst into people and say, da, 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 and just all over them. It's just about asking them simple leading questions. Someone goes, oh, I've got this bloody fine today. Oh, do you know you can challenge that? No. If you get a fine, you just have to pay it. You can't. No, actually, you can challenge that. Oh, okay, I didn't realise that. Oh, well, I've got this huge ATO bill and I can't possibly pay it, and Oh, do you know there's actually hardship provisions that you can make an application for? Oh, there you go. You want another example? An ex-partner of mine, she racked up a $20,000 ATO bill. She had one like a really good year, and then she was out of work, but they did a provisional tax, and they gave her this huge bill, and so we just made an application. It was a 1-page letter under hardship provisions. They wiped the whole bill. So all these things can be done. But yeah, so it's just about dropping these hints for people, getting them. Oh no, I didn't realise. Where do I go and find out about more about it? Oh, go to this website, read this book, study this course, whatever it is, and then we bring up the whole general awakening and understanding of the population. And then once we do that, then it's about people taking action. So writing things like my will letters. So again, anyone who understands, your will is the highest expression that you can make. Okay. So again, we see a lot of these people running around going, oh, but I don't consent. I don't consent. Okay. So consent, will, these are, the highest expression that you can make as a living, breathing man or woman. Okay. So again, it's about putting that consent or that will down in formal writing, because when it's written down, that's when it becomes real. So you write to the politicians. You say, right, it is my will that you do this. I hereby put you on notice that I do not consent to this. Okay. And these are the things that we want people to do. And again, we're not saying throw everything out. We're not saying attack them. We're just simply saying that where they've made a directive, for example, that people must wear a mask, we just simply want them to alter that word from must to may or should. Okay, that's all we want them to do. They can keep their legislation, but they've just got to allow that variation there, so that those who want to wear masks and those who feel safe wearing masks absolutely can. But for those who don't, they have that opportunity as well. Okay. Another really powerful thing for people to do is to write in freedom of information requests, asking for, where's your head of power for the creation of, this particular office? Where's your head of power for, the creation of this law? How is it that a police officer is able to enforce a directive given by a chief medical officer who works for a private corporation? Since when were corporations allowed to make laws that were then enforceable by police? Asking these questions, okay? And especially, I want to make this like as crystal clear as I can for your viewers, especially if you're a newbie, especially if you're just starting, okay? Ask questions. I know you might be super excited because you've just found out about some definition of some word, or you've just read some, section of legislation, you've had your aha moment. I get that, but don't let that detract from your path of learning. Okay, always keep learning, and the best way to learn, of course, is to ask questions. Okay, and you ask questions, and whether it's asking questions of police, whether it's asking questions of the Premier or the Prime Minister or the Attorney General's office, asking questions is the most powerful thing you can do, because then they are admitting whatever that point or fact is. Okay, and once they've admitted it, they can't then turn around and say, oh no, but I didn't really mean that, or that that was taken out of context. Well, no, you just ask them a question. And again, simple things. I know there's a lot of division now between the mask wearers and the non-mask wearers. I mean, even the media is calling the non-mask wearers, mask holes. I mean, like, what the hell is with that? I mean, hang on, what happened? It was okay for the Me Too movement to protect women's rights. It was okay for Black Lives Matter to protect black rights, but all of a sudden you don't want to wear a mask, you've got no rights. I mean, bullying's rife and free for all. I mean, it's crazy. But again, one of the simplest things, and I've found this, and a lot about people that I talk to found this to be the simplest question to ask. When if someone challenges you if you're not wearing a mask or whatever, or even if you are and you just want to just try it out, you just ask other people who've got a mask. I'm just interested, by the way, when are you going to take your mask off? I don't know, when I'm told to. Okay, fair enough. You just might want to think about that. That's all.
Yeah.
You just walk away. And you come in and they're just like, it just screws with their head. Like, well, what do you mean? Well, I don't know. Do you always do everything you're told at 30, 40, 50 years of age? And all good, no judgment. And then it just like, they have this, brain explosion. Like, that's not what I mean. Oh, okay, that's just what you said. That's all. And and some people just, you can see the eyes go in the back of their head. But these things. I mean, one of my favourite things to do with, and I've done it more times I can count. It's going into my coaching stuff a bit more, is with people who smoke. And we'll be chatting away, and I'll just sort of go, oh, okay, no, that just seems a bit strange. And they're like, oh, what? Oh, you just seem like pretty, independent, pretty confident, pretty, self-assured, pretty powerful guy or girl. Well, yeah, I am. It just seems weird that you let this little thing control your whole life, 2 inches long. saying? And they're like, what? Oh, we just, you're at the mercy of this thing. It tells you have to have it, and you just have to have it. Just doesn't seem congruent with who you are. That's all. And they just, I don't sit there going, you should not smoke or anything like that. It's just, and their brain just goes, oh, well, I haven't looked at it that way. Okay. Well, you might want to, you might not. It's up to you. You just have a bit of fun with it, but just casual, just drop it, because not everyone's ready. I mean, you've got to, I mean, you can attest to this, I'm sure yourself, with everything that you've been through personally. I'm sure you've had the same feeling as I and many other people have. Some days you just wake up and you just think, man, I just wish I never knew any of this shit. It'd just be so much simpler. But then you sort of go, but no, that's not me. I like to know, I want to know. But, you can absolutely understand why some people just don't want to know. It's just too hard. It's just so confronting. We had a police officer turn up to one of our live events, our 2.5-day events. And, by lunchtime on the second day, he's just like, you've just screwed my whole life up. And we're like, why? What? He's like, how do I go to work now knowing everything you've just told me? And we're like, well, that's your decision, not ours. No, but you've stuffed it. Oh, we haven't done anything, mate. We've just shown you stuff. You've got to make your own decisions. And like, by the next day he's coming in, he's getting all agitated. He's like, but I don't know what to do now. What do I do with this? Or what do I do with that? Well, mate, you've got to make your own judgment call. Mortgage brokers. We've had mortgage brokers who come to our events. I'm like, but how can I go out and be a mortgage broker anymore? I'm like, I don't know. That's for you to decide. But now I know the fraud that I'm involved in, but this is all I've known. Okay, well, Colonel Sanders went and started making chicken when he was 65 or something. So, we can all start again whenever we want. I'm not here to make your decisions, life choices for you. I'm just here to show you information, and you've got to make those decisions. But not everyone's ready, and everyone's ready at different levels. Some people, I mean, again, I had this experience just the other day. Obviously we've got the Know Your Rights group, the Facebook group, but then there's other ones like Aussie speeding fines and stuff. And so I've put a couple of my videos and stuff on the Aussie speeding fines, and I was getting like attacked left, right, and centre. And these, mind you, I'm not telling anyone, and this is just questions about, should you be wearing a mask? Is it really healthy for you? This kind of stuff. And I was getting attacked, and I'm like, but hang on, this is a group where people are all basically on the same page about challenging fines and fighting back unjust, unlawful traffic fines. But you post something about masks and they lose their mind. And everyone draws their line in different places. Some people are happy challenging fines, but masks and whatever's too much for them. They're happy doing this, but no, everyone should definitely pay personal tax because the whole economy is going to collapse. Okay, how did we get stuff done and build infrastructure before 1936, before the Income Tax Assessment Act? That's a bit awkward. So, everyone's at different levels. So just drop the hints, drop the questions, and just plant those seeds. And then once people sort of grab on it, I didn't know that, tell me more. Well, great. Then you can start engaging in a conversation. Then you can start teaching them, imparting knowledge and stuff like that. And then once they're excited, well, okay, well, shit, I didn't know any of that. That's great. What do I do? Oh, okay, so here's the next step. Now we write letters. Now we write freedom of information requests. Now we send off my will letters. Now we send off letters challenging fines. Now we send off other questions to the premiers, things like that. And that, when we start collectively doing that, that's when it'll start to make a difference. And again, I've been telling people this for years. If just 1% of people around the country in the next week, if they did nothing else, if they just got a fine, parking fine, speeding fine, whatever it was, if they just turned it over, just wrote on the back, I want this heard in court, and sent that off, the whole system would collapse inside 1 week. That's all we need. Okay? There's 25 million of us. Okay? We have the power. Okay? This is what people don't understand. This is what they are shit scared of. Okay, again, the example I give people, if you've ever been out camping, okay, and you've been bitten on the toe by a bull ant, like, shit, that hurt, and you stomp and squish on the bull ant. Now, if you've ever accidentally kicked over a bull ant nest and you've got like 1,000 bull ants swarming, you don't try and stop them, you hightail and run. You get out of there damn quick. And this is the same thing that happens With us, when one person pokes their head up and tries to challenge a fine or tries to challenge tax or tries to challenge whatever, the system tries to stomp on them and squish them and all the rest of it. But if collectively, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, God forbid I say it, millions, if we all did these things collectively, we could bring this system to a close and a finish overnight. Overnight. And yes, for those who are thinking a few steps ahead, which is great, yes, we do have a solution beyond that, because people go, oh, well, that's great. If Dan Andrews steps down, who's going to replace him? Or if the whole system crumbles, what are we going to replace it with? Well, again, we've got that there. Anyone who's been following along with the story with Rod Culleton and the Great Australian Party will know we already have a group of candidates in every state. We've already got Rod Culleton as the leader, ready to step up and restore the Commonwealth Constitution as the highest law in this land, to ensure that every single law that exists in this country right now is reviewed and ensure that it complies with the Commonwealth Constitution, and any sections or subsections that don't comply are amended or repealed or whatever, such that they do. So the solution's there, the steps are there, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take people power to get this to happen. Now, I honestly, and again, I did a video about this a couple of weeks ago. I was honestly really quite shocked and frustrated last Thursday when these mask laws came in, because I went out and I happened to do that particular day about 50, 60 Ks, just driving around and going to different places. And I didn't see a single person who didn't have a mask on. And I was shocked. I thought, look, surely there'll be some people out there who are standing up and rebelling and not wearing a mask. But no, everyone was in compliance. And I thought, look, surely this will be the final straw. People are just going to say, listen, A, it looks ridiculous. B, it feels uncomfortable. C, it's not actually healthy to be reducing your oxygen intake and breathing in your own crap. D, all the scientific reports tell us that these paper masks after 15, 20 minutes just end up attracting more bacteria than they're ever going to stop. I thought surely enough people will be awake that this will be where they draw the line. This is where they'll fight back. It didn't happen. So I don't know. The next step is the mandatory vaccination. There's obviously a lot of people who are obviously against that, but I'm concerned that there'd be a lot of people who just run and line up if it came out. And the final step after that is the chip in the arm, and if that goes ahead, then it's game over. It's just too late then. And again, I know a lot of people go, oh, I'll never get that far, it'll never get that bad. But I tell you what, if I told you, 6 months ago that everyone would be walking around in the entire state wearing paper masks, you would have thought I'd just flown back from the moon. The anal probe from the aliens, turned me crazy or something. But here we are. Yeah. So it's crazy times, and it requires significant action. It requires a significant raise in the level of awareness and understanding, and then it requires significant action from the significant majority of people. And that's what I'm hoping that connecting with guys like you and all the other groups that we talk to every week or so is eventually going to ultimately achieve.
Absolutely. I think the majority of people know masks are stupid, but they're just afraid. They're afraid of being ashamed and attacked by fellow sheep. They're afraid of the police and these $200 fines. If we could just wrap up on that, if someone were to get a fine for not wearing a mask or social distancing or being outside when they're not allowed to, what do?
Okay. So, first I'll answer, but I just want to go back one step first. So the simple thing with masks, and again, I covered this on a recent video, and what a lot of people are doing, they're just carrying one in their pocket, okay? And they're walking into places, and if they start getting glares and looks and stuff like that, again, diffuse the situation. The simplest thing people can do is just go, hey, listen, I notice you seem a bit concerned that I'm not wearing a mask. I've actually got a medical exemption, but listen, I've got a mask in my pocket. If it's a concern for you, if you feel unsafe, I'm happy to put it on. Now, straight away, most people are like, oh, no, all good, mate, no problem, no stress, no worries, okay? And just diffuse the situation, and then it's not even necessary. Again, the police pull you over, mate, I've got a medical exemption. You're not required by law to prove or validate your medical exemption. You don't have to produce it. You don't have to show it. So the simplest thing with anything, of course, is to avoid it in the first place. That's why we tell everyone, I say this on every radio show, get the Aussie Speeding Fines book. It's not some sales pitch. It's just get it, because it's insurance against these things happening, if you like. Okay, the best the best way to beat it is avoid getting one in the first place. Okay, but coming back to your actual question, if for whatever reason you do get one, you do get a fine, an anti-quarantine fine, a no mask fine, whatever. Again, depends on what level you're at. I mean, the Aussie Speeding Fines has just got a 3-step process of letters that you just send off that just say, listen, please provide evidence of your claim. You're claiming that, I did this. Well, provide evidence that that directive is part of a valid, lawfully enacted law. Okay, these are just directives. As I mentioned before, they're directives made by a chief medical officer. Okay, he works for a corporation. Since when can corporations make laws? Since when can corporations make laws that are enforceable by police? Where's the instrument of delegation for the police? So there's a whole bunch of questions that you can ask. Where are these laws or directives applicable to a subject of the Crown? Where is the evidence that I received that directive? Okay, because again, this is where people get themselves into trouble. Oh, they're not laws, they're directives. Well, great. The minute you've just said that, you've just admitted that you know about the directive. Okay, if you don't say anything, you think, oh, mate, why aren't you wearing a mask? Oh, didn't know I had to. I've got a medical exemption. Oh, okay, no worries. Or if they don't listen or they don't believe you, whatever, no, we're getting it. But where's, don't say them, but later on, well, where's the evidence that I got the directive? Where's the evidence I connected to the internet and read it? Where's the evidence that I watched TV and I received it? If they can't provide evidence that you received that directive, see, they're supposed to publish these in public notices and stuff. Okay, but of course they don't do that. And again, go and read the legislation and see what their requirements are, and you can understand all this for yourself. Now, look, I personally don't believe that any of these fines will see the light of day in court. I think they might possibly try and make an example of some people, like Eve Black and stuff like that, and I'll just steamroll them and railroad them just to make an example to try and scare others off. But for the average person who challenges them at least half effectively from the outset, I don't think they'll ever see the light of day in court. But again, if they do, great, by all means, go to court. Okay, so right, well, here I am, John Smith, subject of the Crown. Show me your authority in your jurisdiction over a subject of the Crown. Show me the legislation that they're relying on and how that relates to a subject of the Crown. Okay, these are just some of the simplest arguments. But again, so many people, and again, I touched on this last night, I think it was, that so many people are fearful of getting a fine or God forbid, going to court. Okay, and look, as I said to you, I've been 100 times, so it has no fear over me anymore. But it's like anything. I've been a martial arts instructor in a number of different styles for many years, but I still remember when I was a lowly little white belt, and I stood there and I was like so afraid of being hit. Well, the first time I got hit, it was like, oh, that actually wasn't that bad. Like, it hurt, but it's not that bad. And you get hit, 20, 50 more times, and it's like, oh, well, just another hit. It doesn't matter. It has no hold over you anymore. You don't enjoy it, you don't like it, but you're not fearful of it. So it's the same thing, and this is what I say to people. Again, you probably can't really do it in Melbourne at the moment, but certainly maybe in some other states. Go into the courts and just sit in on the courts and see what the process is, so that you get a little bit familiar with it, so you get a little bit comfortable with it. Because if you're living in fear of getting a fine, or you're living in fear of of going to court, you're not really, in my opinion, any better off than those who are living in fear wearing a mask. So don't live in fear. Okay, if you're in fear, it means you just don't have enough information yet. You just don't have enough evidence yet. So go out and get more information. Go out and get more evidence. If you're worried about going to court, post on our Facebook post and just say, hey, I've got court coming up. Who can share some examples or stories of their court experience with me? And there'll be people on there that'll do it, no problem. Go and sit in on courts. Do that sort of stuff. Familiarize yourself, educate yourself, get informed, because information and education, that's the antithesis to fear. Okay, and we don't want anyone living in fear.
Well said. Beautiful. Well said, Mike. All right, I think we'll wrap it up there, unless there's any final words you want to leave us with.
No, just go out there. As I said, just get informed, and trust me, I can tell you from personal experience. Once you get informed, you really start learning the stuff. You will get fired up because you'll be frustrated, you'll be shocked, you'll be horrified at how badly you've been deceived and lied to for so long. And then don't get angry, don't go beat anyone up, don't attack anyone verbally, don't do that. But do get proactive. Do get onto the computer, get onto the and start writing those letters and start with that process. And that's the pen is mightier than the sword. And when we all pick up our pens together collectively and start bombarding them with paperwork, they get swamped. And again, same thing. When they've got all of us worried about wearing masks and where we are and aren't allowed to go, we're not focused on anything else. When they've got us worrying about, because of, we've all lost our jobs and we've got no money coming in, we're just focused on how we're going to put food on the table. We've got no time or energy or capacity to do anything else. This is why we want people handling those situations so they then got the time and energy to start learning about their rights. But equally, we want to twist the tables on them. We want to bombard their offices with so many letters that they can't, connive and scheme and come up with more ways to deceive us. They're just buried in paperwork that they're going to be spending all their time answering people's letters, not any time doing anything else. And if we can get to that point, that's how we'll start to win the game.
Awesome. All right, and if anyone wants to find out more about Mike, you can go to the Know Your Rights. What's the website? knowyourrights.com.au?
knowyourrightsgroup.com.au. Yep.
They've got the Aussie Speeding Fines ebook, and that teaches you about the fraud that happens with speeding and gives you templates on how to ask them for their jurisdiction and authority and get out of the fine. They've got the Know Your Rights book as well, and that teaches you about just understanding your rights in a more wholesome manner and exposing some of the fraud in the system as well. And the Banking Secrets Revealed book, which is going to go over banking fraud and what you can do about it. So you can easily find all those different ebooks and resources. Just type it into Google, on Facebook, you'll find it everywhere. And do you offer like one-on-one coaching as well for people who might have
yes, we do that. We do one-on-one coaching and mentoring sessions. Again, they're not legal advice in any way, shape or form, but absolutely if people have got a specific problem and they want to know how we might handle that specific problem as an example, or how we might have handled a problem similar in the past, then absolutely we're happy to do those one-on-one sessions with people as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And people can just get in contact with you and ask for that.
They can email us. So there's actually a link on our shop page on our website, and you can just book those sessions there. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you very much, Mike. It's been a pleasure to speak to you today. I hope we do some more of these interviews. I think the audience is going to love to hear what you had to say today. So
no problem
once again, thank you. You're doing a great job. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks for the opportunity, James. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Hello again, my fellow lions and lionesses. I hope you enjoyed that video. But now it's up to you to spread this message. Like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever you need to do to spread this message far and wide. And if you would like to support the cause, then please consider donating via the link in the description. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.